Welcome into Jags A.M. We are at day 2 of joint practices with the Detroit Lions, and we're in Allen Park, Michigan. Not to rub it in, it is lovely outside, and we finally beat the heat a little bit as we get to see, the Jaguars go up against someone that isn't their own team for once.
Yeah, it's better than yesterday in terms of the weather, so it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to today. No hitting today, Brian, but I think there's still stuff we can get out of it, and on this show we can break down what happened yesterday.
Yesterday was a big day. Very physical practice.
And that's what we're going to start out with, our big things. Big thing number 1 is physicality, because when you're not going up against your own team, you don't really have to rein it in necessarily as much. It's still training camp, of course, but there's a little bit extra edge to it, and there's a little bit more competition. I watched a lot of the defense, didn't see too much for our defense and their starting offense, but you guys watched a lot of the offense, and I think it was a little bit chippier on that side of things.
Well, it was definitely chippier, and Jeff Lageman, talking to him on the Huddle Up podcast yesterday, thought maybe it was a little overdone on the Lions' part. I kind of got a little bit of that sense. The Jaguars, to me, Brian, seemed yesterday when the Lions were sort of pushing and shoving, it was more of, okay, let's stop this. We have work to do. I don't know what's right, what's wrong. I don't think anything was a big deal yesterday in terms of, I don't think these teams are going to have any built-up resentment from yesterday. I thought it sort of spoke to two different approaches, and the Jaguars really aren't a big fight team in practice with themselves, so I didn't expect it to carry over to another opponent.
There was an early hit, I forget which linebacker it was for the Lions, that took Travis Etienne all the way to the ground in an early session where they weren't completely live. That kind of jump-started it and got the fire lit. But I watched as Brandon Sheriff in particular went over, and it's like, hey, guys, we're all pros here. We're trying to get to the regular season healthy. Let's not let this get out of control. I mean, he of all people got in the middle, 5-time Pro Bowler, got a lot of credibility, and it calmed it down just a little bit. I was watching almost exclusively Anton Harrison against Aiden Hutchinson, and then I would flip to the other field and watch Josh and Trayvon against the offensive tackles for the Lions. And not a lot of fighting there, although I think Aiden Hutchinson at one point wanted to. I'm going to hold off on that because that's part of my he will, he won't, he might. Anton Harrison was extraordinarily physical with him and kept him from getting anywhere near Trevor Lawrence. It was really good to see.
And I think what you want to see is in these things is that competitive fire, but you don't want it to get out of control, right? You don't want these crazy fights that sometimes you see in other camps where it's
not a nice
lack
game.
of discipline, right?
It's not a nice game. You're going to have some of that.
Well, talking to Walker Little afterward, he said you're almost disappointed a little bit if there's not something like that, and you kind of expect. He didn't really say disappointed, but that was the feel I got of it's going to happen. When it happens, as long as it doesn't escalate into something where they're throwing helmets and rolling off the field, I don't think anybody looked back at it as a very big deal.
Our big thing number 2 revolves around Devin Lloyd, because he's been having a great camp. And yesterday we saw some of what we're hoping to see from him in year 2. I watched defense almost exclusively yesterday, our starters, and Devin Lloyd, he had a pick early, as we mentioned. John, I think, mentioned in your article. I saw him drop another one that was literally in his hands, and then, would-be sack on at least one occasion. And that's exactly what you want to see from him. And we've been hearing it from the coaches, but to see him do that against not his own team has to be a good sign for year 2.
There's so much focus on him because he is capable of doing so many things. He was the Associated Press College Football Player of the Year 2 years ago. And recall all the great players that were playing at Alabama and Georgia then, and it's remarkable. He was an 8-sack guy. I believe he had 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles forced, a fumble recovery, and I think he scored 2 touchdowns. That's what the Jaguars were drafting, a guy in space who could make plays. To see some of that right now, really encouraging for where he fits in this defense.
Yeah, and I talked to Devin after practice, and it was interesting. The analysis that Jeff Lageman on Huddle Up yesterday talked about with Devin doesn't seem to be looking over at Foye Oluokun as much after practice or after play calls. As well, without prompting, Devin said the exact same thing on the field. So it shows me that not only does Devin think it's happening, it shows that it's happening. He's playing faster, and I think about Devin Lloyd. When he's around the ball, he makes plays. And that's a rare – most defensive players, if they can get around the ball, the reason they're on defense is they don't really have a knack for catching the ball. Devin creates turnovers. He created, I think he had 5 takeaways last year. I think he had 2 fumble recoveries, 3 interceptions, if I'm doing the math. Regardless, he had impact. If he's around the ball more, this kid could be a Pro Bowl type player.
I spent some time with him in Fort Worth last week before the game against the Cowboys, and he talked about pulling out all the stops in the offseason to be ready, to be not to play slower, but for the game to be slower for him, including going to church with some of his teammates for some calm time during the week, some thoughtful meditation and mindfulness practice that a lot of players are working on so that they can be focused on the moment. Literally, in the weight room, in the film room, on the field, at church, wherever he was entirely focused this offseason about calming himself down so that the game would slow down for him. And Kai, based on what we saw in Dallas last week and yesterday on the practice field, those practices of his are paying off.
Big Pilates guy as well, we've learned. So
yes.
He and I have that in common, so I'm sure that's helping him as well in terms of being everywhere he needs to be on the field. And our final big thing of today was a mighty matchup. We talk a lot about, Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson, but the matchup yesterday was Anton Harrison, another first-round pick, and Aiden Hutchinson. And far be it for us to not brag on our guy, Anton Harrison did pretty well yesterday.
Well, Brian, I think you watched it more. I was on the other field watching something else, but talk about it a little bit.
Powerful, right? I mean, Hutchinson is 6'7" and 270 pounds. Now, he's not extraordinarily long like Trayvon Walker is, and so he gets into the body of guys to try to create some move, some push, some rush. Harrison stood him up. There were a couple of times where you could see Hutchinson putting his hand up underneath the jersey and getting up towards the face mask. He was so frustrated. We were on the air when they were doing one-on-ones here. I'm told there were 3 matchups. He won all 3. I watched him 4 or 5 times. He won all 5 of those. In fact, I had one scout in the office or in the hotel tell me as I was getting on the elevator later in the evening, did you see 76? He's really good.
And that's what you want to see. Obviously, we saw him a little bit in that game against Dallas, but that wasn't the starters. And then now to see him go up against a top pick.
One concern, he's had that shoulder.
Yes.
And he got stuck yesterday at some point. It was at the end of practice, so it's hard to tell. And today they won't be going full. But from what I gather, he'll probably wear a brace all season long. That'll be something that he'll have to deal with. It's going to be about pain management for him. You just hope it doesn't hold him back in any way, because he was really, really dominant up to that point yesterday.
It certainly has to feel something that's going to linger. Let's hope they can figure out a way to get it rested and controlled, because big year for him, they need him, and so far it looks like he can do it if he's healthy.
And hopefully they do that in the preseason. Obviously, you want to get reps in, but if we can prevent a season-long lingering injury, that would be that would preface that. So we'll keep an eye on things coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about the game coming up on Saturday and what we think might go down. So stay with us.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields, and we have some great news. Fields has the vehicle you want, in stock, priced right, and ready for delivery.
Fields Auto Group is Jacksonville's luxury automotive destination for Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. Inventory is back and available for immediate delivery.
And every Fields customer can take advantage of our Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, and our cafes. You deserve the best.
Stop by today or go to fieldsauto.com.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. And to celebrate, for a limited time, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an unbeatable 4.99 interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Now is your chance to lock down the rate and get in the game. In 20-plus communities in the best locations in Northeast Florida, Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines and into the game with a game-changing 4.99% offer. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rates available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to DreamfindersHomes.com for more details.
Live from practice, which just began now, and we saw a lot of physicality yesterday. No pads today for day 2 of joint practice with the Lions, so not sure what we'll necessarily get out of it, but a lot we could take from yesterday's
We got this
practice.
nice weather out of it.
I'm just happy to be outside, and I wore pants yesterday. It was like, I don't think I could possibly do that in Florida at this time of year. So it's the little things.
Whatever
And
makes
I
you happy.
joked yesterday about not being able to get anything out of non-padded work today, but you also had some guys nicked up yesterday. So
Right, and that's a fine line you walk.
Yeah, that's what we're back to in this day and age. That's what we talk about. As much as we like seeing it and we love seeing the physicality, you didn't love seeing Josh Wells limp off. So as much as we like the padded stuff, credit to Doug Peterson for knowing when to pull back.
And we don't have an official update on any of those injuries from yesterday. Although I think I may have told you guys that when I was walking off the practice field yesterday, Foley said, I'll be fine. So
he left practice yesterday with a foot injury, but he was walking around. He didn't get removed from practice or anything like that. So we'll keep you updated on that, especially when we get out there today, see who's doing what. But we do want to talk a little bit about the game. He will, he won't, he might, presented by Sudeth, and what we have for in terms of predictions for your preseason game number 2. We're going to start off with you, Brian. I think you're going to do Trayvon Walker.
I am, and he's a guy who's probably not going to play much, if at all, on Saturday. We have not been told.
So he might not play.
Yeah.
So he
might not play, exactly. But look, he was the better of the two players who were drafted 1 and 2 yesterday, right? He was much better than Aiden Hutchinson. And I went and checked with someone and said, hey, this is what I saw. Am I right? And he said, it's hard to miss. There was a moment yesterday where he jacked up Penei Sewell, who might be the best right tackle in football. And I mean, just pushed him backwards. He is a physical specimen, and I think based on yesterday, is the better football player. And I think he's a guy who's going to be seen as being the better football player over the course of his career, taking big picture now. He won't be a 15-sack guy. That's not his game. He's not Lawrence Taylor. But he might be a 10-sack guy. He might get to that point this year because he showcased a couple of inside moves and a spin move. We didn't see it from him. I mean, last year, what did you see? You saw the outside bull rush. You saw the inside bull rush. And yesterday, he caught Taylor Decker, who is an excellent left tackle, off guard with a couple of those moves. So he's not only a dominant physical specimen, he's a guy who looks like he's gotten better.
Yeah, I went with Nathan Rourke.
Canada's
Nate
own.
Rourke is
Canada's own. Yes.
as Doug calls him. And, I think he will play a lot, because my sense is that it's going to be a reserve-oriented game. So I think he's going to get an opportunity. I'd expect him to play most of the second half. He will continue to create excitement. Jaguars fans and fans around the country understandably love this guy for the great play he made last year. I'll do 2 mights. We might need to pump the brakes a little bit, Brian, because he's a rookie playing against 3rd and 4th team guys last week. So before we design him a bust, let's make sure that he can play against very good NFL players. But he might give us a lot of fun the next couple of weeks, and he might be able to push for a roster spot around here because it's tough for teams when you see some sparkle from a young quarterback and some potential. It's a dangerous entity to let get away from you.
He was a guy who made a normally difficult part of a preseason game fun last week. I will absolutely give him that. But aren't we past with Trevor? Aren't we past getting excited about backup quarterbacks? We have done that. We have done that for so long in Jacksonville because there wasn't the man. So I'm glad he's on the roster. He's going to make it more fun. But it's all about 16, not 18.
Fingers crossed, yes. I chose Parker Washington for my he will, he won't, he might, because why not? I think he's going to get some. I think he's locked up that 5 spot in terms of wide receivers. He's probably going to carry 6. I think he's got the 5 locked down. I think we're going to see him. He will play a significant amount, even though I know maybe the starters might not play as much. I think he, either returning kicks and punts or also on wide receiver will see a significant amount of time. I don't think he won't get a touchdown or anything like that, but I think they're going to focus a lot of the offense on him just to see what his abilities are right now, because I think ideally at some point he's maybe a Christian Kirk-like slot kind of guy. So I think we'll see 5+ receptions from him hopefully on Saturday. And I'm going with just kind of seeing what he gives you. We saw him returning kicks and punts a lot in Dallas, but maybe what he gives you a little bit more at wide receiver.
Yeah, he might. I mean, to use the thing Brian loves so much, he might get a touchdown because I think he's going to play a lot, and he's starting to look like a guy who's on the cusp of making some plays. So I agree, Ty.
He uses his feet to overcome whatever speed he doesn't have, because he's in a position to get open in places where other guys don't. He's got excellent feet. It'll be fun to watch that.
I find it to be a little bit deceiving as well, because you don't necessarily expect it, and then he's very shifty on you, which I think aids to his skill set. So we'll hopefully see some of that action in their matchup on Saturday. Coming up, stay with us. We're going to talk a little bit about things going on in the AFC South and how they affect the Jags, and we'll have all the details for you after the break.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields, and we have some great news. Fields has the vehicle you want, in stock, priced right, and ready for delivery.
Fields Auto Group is Jacksonville's luxury automotive destination for Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. Inventory is back and available for immediate delivery.
And every Fields customer can take advantage of our Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, and our cafes. You deserve the best.
Stop by today or go to fieldsauto.com.
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. And to celebrate, for a limited time, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an unbeatable 4.99 interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Now is your chance to lock down the rate and get in the game. In 20-plus communities in the best locations in Northeast Florida, Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines and into the game with a game-changing 4.99% offer. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rates available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to DreamfindersHomes.com for more details.
Hi Jags fans, Andre Sisco here, safety of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, I've partnered up with Luray Peanut Company to serve a greater mission for the Jacksonville community with the Peanut Pickoff. Here's the deal. Every time the Jags make a pick, Luray is going to donate to youth football initiatives in and around the Jacksonville area. On top of that, the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. With each interception, our team inches closer to that W, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Remember, it was always the Jags. Duval.
Welcome back to Jags A.M. presented by Fields Auto Group. Fields Auto Group Jacksonville. Step up to luxury. FieldsAuto.com. We are coming to you live for Jags A.M. today, Thursday edition from Allen Park, Michigan. Joint practice with the Lions. This is the second day. No pads today, but still going to be interesting to see, what work they can get in before the preseason game on Saturday. They're off on Friday. We're going to talk a little bit about things going on around the division, because we like to keep up with things that are going on around the league and just how that's going to affect the Jaguars going forward. So first thing we're going to talk about is the Colts, excuse me. They named Anthony Richardson their starting quarterback for week 1, and the Jaguars play them in week 1. We know a little bit of something about rookie quarterbacks going out there. Is this the best decision for them? Do you think throw them into the fire if they're ready?
Well, I was asked the other day if I was surprised that they did it. I guess I don't know enough about what they wanted to try to get accomplished to be surprised. I think it sets them up on the surface for a season of really working through his
Development.
growth, because he did not look to me in college like a guy who was ready for the nuances of the NFL yet. So they're taking the approach, we're going to throw this guy in, we're going to grow with him. He has the athleticism. He strikes me as a young quarterback, Brian, who has the athleticism to make some plays and win them a couple of games that they shouldn't. I don't know if that translates to the consistency for them to be a contender this season.
So the reason I think it makes sense for them to put him in is because Shane Steichen, the head coach of the Colts, came from Philly, where he worked with Jalen Hurts. And that's the kind of system they're going to run. And even though Gardner Minshew is a guy who runs around to create plays, he's not that kind of a running quarterback. And so it works better to just put Richardson out there. I had a scout that I know tell me the other day, he will throw, Richardson will, some beautiful, flip of the wrist, 35-yard darts, and then he'll miss wide open touch passes out in the flat. He's got a long growth curve, but with Steichen as the head coach, it gives him a chance to get in and get ready so that in 2024, he might have a better chance to produce.
Yeah, it's a fit. If anybody can develop him, it's the right coach. We'll see if he can do it.
And fair point, they're in a little bit of rebuild mode, and because he lacks, game experience, it's probably the way to go with it. Over in Titans camp, Treylon Burke suffered a knee injury in training camp. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. It's an LCL strain, not as severe as they thought it was going to be. And we talked a little bit about our injuries, how at this point, especially on the back end where maybe most decisions are already made, if you know you're making the roster, to kind of pull it back a little bit in terms of not maybe diving for all these catches and trying to keep yourself healthy.
Safety first in the league right now. You don't want to lose frontline guys because it goes without saying, with depth, with the cap, most teams can't replace them. So it's what we said earlier about just Doug saying no. I mean, I assume it was more Doug because Dan Campbell seems like the kind of guy who would want to hit all the time.
Right.
Be smart. Get to the regular season. That's been the MO for 15 years. It's not going to change.
They're counting on Burks. They're hoping that he and DeAndre Hopkins can give Ryan Tannehill a big year to bounce back and compete. That's why they kept Derrick Henry. That's why they kept Tannehill. That's an important part of their offense.
Yeah, they're a tougher out than I think a lot of Jaguars observers feel like the last part of last season is a trend, meaning the Jaguars got hot, Titans faded.
They had so many injuries as well.
Yeah, they had some key injuries down the stretch. They're well coached.
Their defense was decimated last year.
Yeah, count them out when they're out, not before it.
And then we're going to go to the Houston Texans. They began joint practice with the Dolphins this week, but they also have joint practice with the Saints next week. So altogether, they're going to have 4 joint practices, 2 games in about 11 to 12 days there. Is there something as too much of playing someone else, or do you feel like for a team like that, it's really helpful?
Yeah, I think Doug wouldn't mind doing that. If it's controlled, I don't know. From what Doug has said, I don't think he has much interest in doing it week 1 of preseason because he feels like training camp is still going on and they're learning each other at that point. I wouldn't be surprised to see if they do it again in the last 2 weeks. As long as it's controlled like this, what's the harm to be done today with joint? The only thing you would worry about is physicality, Brian.
Well, and like you said, when you're not working in shoulder pads and going, all the way to the ground,
right,
you can really do a good job controlling it. I mean, you're still going to get those injuries where guys plant their leg and it doesn't give, and it creates problems. But I don't see it as being difficult because with one fewer preseason game, these reps, Doug said last week when I talked to him in Dallas, these reps are more vital to him, and I assume he means yesterday's reps, more vital than the preseason reps he gets his starters. So why not do it, especially when you're only to 3 preseason games now?
Definitely get the quality reps out there like we saw yesterday. All right, coming up after this, we'll have our previews of what we think the game will look like on Saturday and a little bit more about what's going down in joint practice today.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields, and we have some great news. Fields has the vehicle you want, in stock, priced right, and ready for delivery.
Fields Auto Group is Jacksonville's luxury automotive destination for Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. Inventory is back and available for immediate delivery.
And every Fields customer can take advantage of our Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, and our cafes. You deserve the best.
Stop by today or go to fieldsauto.com.
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. And to celebrate, for a limited time, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an unbeatable 4.99 interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Now is your chance to lock down the rate and get in the game. In 20-plus communities in the best locations in Northeast Florida, Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines and into the game with a game-changing 4.99% offer. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rates available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to DreamfindersHomes.com for more details.
Sunneth is on the 20, the 10. Yes, another successful move to a new home. I tell you, folks, I've never seen a team more prepared than the Sunneth crew. With a dominating lead in training, trust, and efficiency, it's no wonder why Sunneth is the official moving company of the Jacksonville Jaguars. For the past 100 years, Sunneth has provided local, long-distance, and international moving services in Jax. While the Jags are moving the chains on game day, Sunneth is helping you on moving day. Visit Sunneth.com/Jags for a guaranteed quote.
Jags fans, if you want customized Jaguars furniture for your home, all you have to do is check out zipchair.com. Browse all customizable options. Zipchair is furniture for fans. We're on location again for our final joint practice with the Lions today, day 2 of 2 here in Allen Park, Michigan, and we have a game on Saturday. What we'll see as terms of starters, we're not really sure. Probably less than we saw in game 1, I would imagine. But
if
what
at
do you,
all,
if
there's
at
a
all,
chance they don't play at all.
they don't dress. What are you looking forward to, and maybe some guys that are on the bubble are hoping to see at
Well,
least?
I think the fact that there is such a large draft class, and the guys played well last week, and there are very good players for this team at 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th receiver. Very interesting players. I don't know if they're good yet at cornerback and defensive back. I think they could be good. They haven't really shown as much as the receivers, in my opinion. But you have those kind of battles and those kind of players. I think there's a lot to watch. I assume Bigsby will play a lot. I assume Brenton Strange will play a lot. Ventrell Miller, guys like that. There's a lot to watch for Jaguars fans. I think you're going to see the future of the franchise playing on Saturday.
Well, and if Josh Wells isn't going to play, and I would doubt he does, even though we don't know the full extent of the injury, it means you're going to see Cole Van Lannon and Coy Cronk. You're going to see Bobby Evans. You're going to see some of these guys that are going to be competing for potentially a job that no one thought was available.
Yeah, Evans is interesting because he's played in the league, just got here. All of a sudden, his opportunity may open up with Josh Wells.
And the other side of the coin is all the young defensive backs, and we've named them and talked about them. But Devon Wilson and Gregory Jr. are guys who are competing for jobs. Same thing, Christian Braswell last week and Monteric Brown. Jaguars have built depth through the draft. Let's see if it can play.
And hopefully some consistency, right? We saw Greg Jr. and some of those other guys, Yasir Abdullah, flashing. Right? We want to see it again in game 2 and make that decision a little bit easier for Doug and the guys when they make that final roster decision. All right, we're all wrapped up here from day 2 of joint training camp. That's Jags A.M. We'll check in with you. We'll have you fully covered this weekend and all your broadcasts, and of course next week as well. We'll see you on Monday.